Yes, hello. I am James Rowlands. Today it's the WNR307, and we're going to be looking at AEW All Out 20. And I've got the pleasure to say that I am joined by the Chokeslam report. How you doing, mate? You all right?
I'm good. Known as the Ultimate One here in New York City, man. It's a pleasure being your show.
I am so happy you are from New York City, and I'm here for good old London, England. We're
Yeah,
reaching across the Atlantic, and I think it's brilliant we can do it with modern technology as well.
yeah, crossing the pond, like your guys say, crossing the pond.
Yeah, yeah, it's absolutely brilliant. Like I said, to have something like that, and a difference of opinion as well. Like I said, we're going to get into AEW All Out now. Why don't you tell me a little bit about yourself and about the podcast that you do as well?
Well, my real name is Henry Valentine, but I go by my gimmick name on the Chokeslam Wrestling Report, the Ultimate One. And the reason for the Ultimate One is I was a big Ultimate Warrior fan when I was growing up. I started doing a podcast I say about a year and a half ago. It's funny because I've been watching wrestling since I was like 4 or 5 years old. I'm close to 50. And I decided, I said, you know what? I'm passionate about this industry. I love wrestling. I've seen so many errors and all that. So I decided let me do a podcast just for the fun of it, see how it goes. And it's been a roller coaster ride. I met so many beautiful people, and you know, I guess the support through Twitter, through social media. I mean, you got little trolls here and there, but that's part of the job. You got to ignore that and just enjoy the ride as far as the wrestling podcast.
I think without a doubt, and I think, like you say, on Twitter sometimes people can be a little bit trolly or egg you on with comments. But I feel like, especially with the Twitter feed and the way we are, it's the people you interact with. And like I said, finding like-minded people who you can have a difference of opinion, but you don't have to start, name calling or anything else like that. And I think that's
That's
why it
true.
works.
That's true. Yeah, that's the game now. You know what I'm saying? Like as far as the wrestling fans today, they're very. I mean, I understand they're passionate about their promotion, they support, and all that. But the name calling, and all that, everybody got different opinion. You may not agree with whatever the outcome of a match or a wrestler. He's got to be civilized instead of acting like animals. Well,
Yeah, I think without a doubt. So we've been following AEW on the WNR podcast now since its inception. What have you thought up until this point about AEW? Because there's a lot of AEW fanboys that say it's the best thing going, and a lot of people say, well, maybe they're not there yet. So what's your personal opinion on it?
Well, at the beginning, I mean, it was different. It was a different, it was a choice. If you got tired of watching WWE and whatever they were putting on TV, now this was a choice for you to watch. I mean, within the year, they have brought in a lot of stars and all that. But to me, my opinion, I think even though I understand they're trying to do like long-term storylines, I think they too slow, snail pace when it comes to stories. And right now, after what happened last night, it kind of leaves me questioning where they're gonna go from here. But overall, they've done great. They showed they got the best tag team division in the industry. I mean, nobody could beat AEW when it comes to tag team. But as far as making new stars, they still gotta try to push like the Joey Janela's, the not Lance Archer because Lance Archer's been around, but the younger crowd like Jungle Boy, Luchasaurus. They need to push them much more than what they're doing right now.
Yeah, I think what we've seen in the past, especially if we use like TNA as a kind of benchmark for it, is they've got to create their own identity, and of course they've got to use name value from the WWE, the wrestlers that come down, but try and find a nice balance in between it and create new stars as well.
Yeah, yeah. I think I think they really. I mean, they pretty much. I think they got it covered. The only place that I see that they having a lot of issue is the women's division. I mean, last night Thunder Rosa and Hiroki Shida did a great match. The week before Thunder Rosa with Deeps, and that was a great match. That's the type of wrestling matches they should have every week in the women's division. But the women's that they have on their roster, they still green. There's a lot of botches. But it's not even a year yet, so I mean, you got to give them a chance.
Yeah, and I think with that as well, it's almost like positioning because when you look at NXT and they usually have the women's match in the co-main event, and I think that gives it a little bit of legitimacy. And with AEW not really being around, that long at this moment in time. Like I said, they have to kind of build within the division, but hopefully they can get around that. So let's get on with it. And let's start with AEW All Out. And we started off with the buy-in, of course, an hour before the show actually started. Now, unfortunately, because I'm in the UK as well, I had to stay up till about 5 o'clock in the morning to watch the entire thing,
Yeah,
which,
I noticed,
you know,
I noticed that. Yes.
yeah, which wasn't great. But again, it's the sacrifices you make as a wrestling fan, you know?
Yes, yes, yeah. It was I think it was here what 7 over here in New York when it started.
Yeah, I
About
know.
7:15, 7:30, something like that.
You
So,
lucky guys. That's what I was
yeah.
saying. Yeah, because it started about 7. We had a half hour of talk, and then we got into the action. The first match was Joey Janela versus Serpentico. Now, this is a match that I didn't think it was too bad. I'm not a huge fan of Joey Janela, and I don't really know much about Serpentico anyway. What were your thoughts on the match overall?
I mean, to me, it felt like an AEW dark match, to be honest with you. But I think it's more of if you think about what happened last Wednesday, where Jericho opened up Janela, and he that's my dog. Somebody came to the house. What happened to Janela last week when he got opened up by, Jericho. And if
Yeah,
you notice after the match, the first thing that Janela said something was about the inner circle. And if as we go on, I'm gonna tell you more. I think what's gonna happen now is Joey Janela is gonna have some type of program with the inner circle.
yeah,
Serpentico, I did not know he's been in wrestling that long, 18 years. I don't know who's behind the hood. I usually know who they are, but
mm,
you know, Serpentico is pretty good. I think if he's been around for 18 years, I think they should do like maybe a junior title, for the smaller guys, like guys like that. Because I mean, Serpentico is good, but then they got him teaming with Luther. Luther's been around for ages, for
mm.
like since the days of FMW, Japan Explosion shows and all that. So it was pretty good. I mean, to start the show, you get everybody, a little riled up, waiting for oh, I can't wait to see the next match. So it
Yeah.
was pretty good. It wasn't that bad.
No, it wasn't a bad match. Like I said, Joe Janela's got a lot of fans as well, and there's certain characters. Like I said, talking about Chris Jericho makes you think that's maybe going to open it up for him. I think with Serpentico and a lot of the wrestlers like that, with the amount of kind of stuff AEW do across social media and across on Dynamite, these video packages explaining to the audience who these wrestlers are, what their goals are, I think is vital, especially in this day and age where it's only going to take like a 3-minute video to kind of catch you up on what these wrestlers are all about as well, you know?
Oh yeah, it's true. Yeah, but um, it's that's I think they should have done that from the beginning. Like do like every week a package deal, to see you know, their background, where they came from, where they wrestled. That they should have done that weeks ago. And this is one of the things that gets on my nerves with AEW because they should have done all this in the beginning. Give you like a little lesson where these guys came from. Whatever. Now, like in between now and the year, now they're doing it. But I mean, Joey Janela is gonna be the crazy, the crazy hardcore type of guy, who's
Yeah.
not scared to wrestle anybody. I mean that's who knows. I mean, like I said, it's not even a year. And if Tony Khan said it, they're all about long-term storyline.
Yeah, I think the thing is as well that the problem with AEW don't want to do is overload the roster because it's all well and good getting these great independent wrestlers to come in, a bit like we saw with the Open Challenge with Cody, but with the roster that they've got to make sure they're using them, someone like Sean Spears to actually have a little bit of character development and see what they're doing as opposed to concentrating on 10 new guys that are coming in. Which don't get me wrong, I know they've got AEW Dark and other programs, but just try and do too much at once as well, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, and again, they got too many guys, everybody's trying to have some TV time, especially, they're trying to be on the YouTube thing, So it's we'll see. I mean, the way it started, it was pretty good. It wasn't that bad, but I was surprised they even put that match because I thought all the time there's going to be Britt Baker and Swole.
Yeah, I think without doubt. I think because there was a few complaints about the women's match taking part on the buy-in, they moved it to the main show, which in fact I think hurt it. But like I say, we'll get onto that in a second. So I'm going to give that first match 2.5 out of 5 anyway, because it was pretty
Yeah.
basic as it was.
Yeah, it was about that 2.5. But it's like it was like one of those like I said, Tuesday night AEW dark.
Yeah, I think like
Guys
that.
just showing their skills and like just letting everybody know, look, this is Joey Janela. This is what he does. Serpentico, the same thing. But I was surprised when they said that he's been in the business for 18 years. I'm like, 18 years, wow.
Yeah. I think without a doubt. So Janela won that with the elbow off the top. We did predictions, of course. We challenged each other at the
Yes.
event. We both went for Janela to start off. We started off 1-1. We also did a poll on our Twitter at the WNR podcast, and Joe Janela got 76% of the vote. So that wasn't really much in doubt.
Mm.
The next match in the buy-in was Dark Order versus Private Party. Now, Private Party for me, and I said this on Twitter as well, they are ultra talented, probably the most athletic tag team in AEW, but you need something a little bit more to actually make it, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, and my problem with this is that I follow Private Party since House of Glory because I'm up here in New York City. They have a promotion called House of Glory, and they all located in New York City. So I saw them when they, I think about a year ago when I first saw them, and I was very impressed with their talent, with their skills, whatever. But since they come up AEW, when they came in, they were pretty much, showing the same skills that they were showing when I first saw them. But now I noticed that they got a lot of skills, but they botch some of their moves. Their timing is a little off. You know what I'm saying? Not that I'm saying they're horrible, but it's just their timing sometimes a little off, and like they don't know what's going on sometimes. And then wrestling the Dark Order, which was Mark Silver, another guy that I seen in House of Glory, and Alex Reynolds. I felt, this is just my opinion, I felt that they should have gave it to Alex Reynolds and Mark Silver because they part of the Dark Order. Now you want to make the Dark Order this evil cult. You gotta push these guys also. You know what I'm saying? Not make them like the weak link of the group.
Yeah, this is what I thought as well with the Dark Order. Was like, you're building towards something special, and to a point where your big baby faces are the one to knock them off. But at this point in time, it's all about building, getting victories, and kind of being dominant. I understand with Private Party, they're like a very talented team, but I thought at this point in time, oh, this is going to be Dark Orders. It again wasn't a bad match,
No, there wasn't a bad match, not at all. But I was disappointed the fact that they gave it to Private Party, and I feel like Private Party, it's the same thing like with the LAX. LAX is all Proud and Powerful, whatever you want to call them now. They came in last year; they were like the hottest tag team and whatever. But if you look at what they've done with Private Party and when they've done with Proud and Powerful, Private Party has gotten more title shots than Proud and Powerful. But I don't know where they're gonna go with Private Party. I mean, they're good. They give good matches, but I still think Dark Order should have won that match.
Yeah, it's all about building the Dark Order, and that's why I think both prediction-wise we both went now. And it looked like they were going to actually get the job done because there was a couple of really nice false finishes towards the end. But of course, Private Party recovered, hit the gin and juice, and that was job done. So it was 1-1 with predictions. Sorry, go on.
Yeah, but Mark Silver is one little guy there, and this guy doesn't get a lot of credit. And he's a very small guy. Well, small guy on TV. He's not that small when I see him in person. But he did that F5. It looked like he threw the guy through it. Like he spun like 3 times in the air. That is amazing skills to do that. And this is what I'm saying. Like guys like that should be pushed because, they show what they got. You know what I'm saying? But if they keep losing every week, you're going to make them look stale,
I think without a doubt, and I think this is what it says with predictions. We're going to be Dark Order on the poll as well. Dark Order had 74% of that vote, so Private Party actually getting a victory was considered a surprise as well.
Oh wow, 74%.
Yeah, 74%. Yeah, so I know everybody was wrong with that one, and
but that goes to show you that the Dark Order is getting a following, and if you keep squashing these guys, then how legit are you going to make Dark Order?
This is what I'm saying. Yeah, and this is the thing. And Dark Order is one of those things when they first started, everybody was so kind of against it and saying it didn't really work. And then Brody Lee coming in, kind of changing the group. You need to. You've seen it with WWE so many times where they don't capture that momentum that's going on, and they feel like that was an opportunity at that as well.
Yes, that's true. That is true.
All right, so we started the main show, and it was the tooth and nail match, Big Swole versus Dr. Britt Baker. Now, I really enjoyed these two women, but I just felt to start the show off, it was just a complete disconnect, you know?
Well, you have to look at it. I think the reason they did the cinematic stuff, because I don't think Britt Baker's leg was ready to be in a ring. So they did the cinematic stuff to, to make it, again, entertaining, because it was funny. I mean, I was dying laughing, and most of the stuff that they were doing in this cinematic match, I even dropped my sangria on the floor. That's how funny it was to me. So I had a lot of fun watching this, but at first I thought, and I said, why did they do a cinematic? But it makes sense, because remember, I think, tore her ACL. You're not going to get better in an amount of 3 months, 4 months on an ACL. You know what I'm saying? It's going to take time. So I think that's the reason they did it cinematic. They gave it to Swole, which kind of surprised me, because I thought they were going to give it to Britt Baker, being that Britt Baker is like the heel, and she has a lot of charisma now compared to when she first came in. And, and Reba, forget it, she makes it much funnier. So I was surprised that Swole actually won that,
Yeah.
But it was entertaining. I found it entertaining. I laughed my ass off. I had fun with it. I mean, yeah, it did disconnect, because that's not the way to start a pay-per-view. You know what I'm saying? But I enjoyed it.
I think it's strange, because we've seen so many cinematic matches now that
Yes.
they're trying to kind of either top each other or be a little bit different, and maybe they need to calm it down a little bit and maybe come up with a different idea. Don't get me wrong, there was a couple of funny moments. I think maybe the needle in Baker's leg was one of those moments I'm thinking, oh, blucking hell.
Yeah.
And then, but it was quite funny putting her to sleep with the anesthesia as well, because obviously you're going to have to incorporate it. I just thought it'd be the other way around,
Yeah, but see the cinematic I mean, if you compare it with WWE, how they do the cinematic stuff compared to the way AEW did this one, it wasn't a long cinematic stuff. I think it was like 4 or 5 minutes probably. I think WWE sometimes overdoes it, but I enjoyed it as much. That's all I could say about it. But I think the reason they did the cinematic stuff was because I don't think Britt Baker was ready to wrestle actually in a wrestling ring, because of the injury she had a couple of months ago.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with you. But again, to start the show wasn't too bad. And at this point, because obviously when you're staying up until God knows in the morning, you kind of want the card to go along at a good pace. And I know with AEW shows, sometimes it could creep, to 3.5 hour range.
And I feel for you, because I know you probably stood up. You was up late watching this, and then first match you see it's a cinematic match. You're probably saying to myself, "My goodness, what is going on here?"
Exactly, and then you like it's over in 5 or 10 minutes. You're thinking, right, if they keep going like this speed, this might be like a 2.5 hour show. It didn't end up that way, but again, I'm going to give that 3 out of 5. The opening match, because it wasn't brilliant, but like I said, it had its moments, didn't it?
Yeah, I agree with it. 3 out of 5. Yeah, it was pretty good. It was hilarious. I found it hilarious. Like I said, I haven't laughed that hard in a long time, and wrestling sometimes is very comedic, but sometimes you look at it like, oh, this is not funny. But this was funny. This was hilarious, entertaining, and a good way to keep people up waiting for the actual matches to start.
Yeah, without a doubt. Prediction wise on that, we both went Britt Baker, so neither of us got a point. The poll wise, again, poll 70% for Britt Baker. So,
oh, wow.
I don't think anybody saw that coming.
In fact, you know what? And I'm not surprised with that poll, because like I said, we both picked Britt Baker. I didn't see Swole winning this.
No, exactly, and that's the surprise aspect. But I don't mind that sometimes, because of how strong Swole looked in the match. He looked like a badass, So I kind of bought into it in that way. Our next match was Jurassic Express versus the Young Bucks. Now, there's no doubt the Young Bucks are one of the greatest tag teams on the planet. Jurassic Express are really entertaining. But was this really right for these two teams to meet on the pay-per-view like this? I just think it was obviously with Dynamite the week before, they won the match to face each other. But was there much point to it, if you know what I mean?
This is the way I was looking at this match coming in. I figure, okay, being that the Young Bucks were angry at the fact that Hangman Page cost them an opportunity to go for the world tag titles, and the way they came out last Wednesday when they spilled a beer over a fan's head because he had a sign, "Drink my beer, Hangman." I figured, well, this is the perfect opportunity. You got the Jurassic Express, a very fan favorite tag team. A lot of people like them, against the Young Bucks, who now are stressed out, pissed off because they lost an opportunity. So the match was good. I don't think the Young Bucks needed to win this, because if you're really gonna do a heel turn, that would have been a perfect spot for them to do it last night, where they could have lost to the Jurassic Express, and then maybe they're gonna shake the hands of the Jurassic and then attack them and beat them up or whatever. I mean, overall the match is good. It just shows that. I mean, it pretty much highlights what Luchasaurus could do as a big man, 6'5". This guy can move in the ring like a cruiserweight. And Jungle Boy was exposed even more of how good of a talent he is, because he took 3 super kick toward the end, and it shows what he got. But I think the Young Bucks didn't need to win this match. I don't think so. That's just my opinion on that.
I feel with this as well, it's a case of the kind of the AEW positives and the negatives. Yes, they're great at tag team wrestling, but does every match have to be a tag team match? And especially with the Young Bucks and Jurassic Express, there's no doubt Jurassic Express, one of my favorites. Luchasaurus, like I said, the stuff he can do is amazing. But like I said, build story. Will the Young Bucks go from this to a tag team title match? Probably not, because they've got their own thing to sort out first and which way they're going to go. There's no doubt the action was kind of thick and fast as well, and Luchasaurus was probably maybe the star of the show in that way. And when he launched himself into the front row, that was a hell of a bump that he took. There's no doubt about.
Yeah, 6'5". That's what I'm saying. Like, guy's 6'5", and there's not a lot of wrestlers in that height and that body that could do that. Jump off the top rope into the crowd outside. I mean, and it cost them the match, but that goes to show you what these guys could do. As far as the Young Bucks concerned, I think them not being in a title picture, I think they're probably going to end up, they're going to be the ones going to end up challenging the champions for the world title somewhere down the line from here to the next pay-per-view. But like I said, I agree with what you're saying. I think they didn't need to win this match. I think they could have won it. If really going to do a heel turn, that was the perfect spot.
Yeah, and this is what I'm saying. You turn heel because you can't kind of grasp the fact that you're not winning. Do you have to change something up? And is it a part of being the elite? And it's another layer of a storyline there. Jungle Boy Low took the BTE trigger as Matt and Nick earned the victory. And overall, I'm going to give it a 3.5 out of 5. It was nothing spectacular, but I think it was solid and better than we had seen already in the card. I think it would be fair to say.
Yeah. I agree with that. It was 3.5 stars. I mean, like I said, it's just showing what I think when these guys wrestle each other like that and show when they wrestle to that specific type of matches, they're just trying to show everybody, look, we got the best tag team in the world in our promotion. And last night they showed it.
Yeah, I mean, I'd love to see the proper cocky heel Young Bucks walking around AEW as well. I think that's something that would be a nice change from what we've seen.
It's going to happen. I mean, they already started with, they started already. So it's just a matter of time. And like I said, I think that's one of the reasons I watch AEW, because of that storyline. And then everything that's been going on with FTR and all that stuff. So it's interesting. It makes you want to go back and watch it.
Yeah, I think without a doubt, and I think that's a good thing for the product. Prediction-wise, we both went Young Bucks, so we both got points, so it's 2-2 at this moment in time. As for the poll, 87 for the Young Bucks.
So, yeah.
There was no doubt.
Yeah,
there's no doubt.
Yeah. But we'll see. We'll see. But I mean, again, like I said, I just wish. Now, I'm going to ask you a question. Do you think that Luchasaurus will do good as a single wrestler?
I think he could be a breakout star if they wanted to. I think with Orange Cassidy, the way they've gone about it like that, I think Luchasaurus could definitely be challenging, especially with a guy his size as well.
Yeah, Jungle Boy could too. Also, I think when Luchasaurus wrestled Warlow, I saw a little bit of how you call it, little cracks in his armor as far as timing. He's good with the kicks and all that, but I think he should leave for tag team for now. and see what happens. But he could be a breakout star. I like Luchasaurus.
I think with that, I think you can do the monster heel as well and do it because we have, not really seen him just coming in and smashing people. And with Jungle Boy can be the ultimate babyface as well with this size, and he'll make you feel sorry for him. And I think that's definitely something they can look at down the line. But I think have a little bit of success between themselves first, and then look at that, long-term goals and that kind of thing.
Yeah, but AEW has to create more stars, and I think, like I said, it's not even a year yet, so we'll see.
Without a doubt. All right, so our next match was the Casino Battle Royale for a shot at the AEW champion. Consisted of Trent, Ray Phoenix, Christopher Daniels, Jake Hager, and The Blade. Group 2 featured Big Will Hobbs, Santana and Ortiz, Chuck Taylor, and Frankie Kazarian. Hager eliminated Daniels while Kazarian sent The Blade packing, all while Hobbs paired off with Phoenix. Up next as part of Group 3 were Billy Gunn, Penta Alzera and Ricky Starks with Brian Cage, Team Taz, and Cage and Starks immediately dumped Gunn while Darby Allin entered the match. Now, before we go on, AEW kind of know if it's my problem with it, but these kind of battle royals and like we've seen before, really shot at opportunity, they kind of they build it up, but I don't really think it delivers in ring because it is just your standard battle royal as such, isn't it?
Yeah, I the battle royals is I find the Casino Royale battle royal interesting because there was one particular two guys that I wanted to see them square off was Brian Cage and Lance Archer. I think it was just a typical battle royal. I think Darby Allin just took it to another level. And speaking of Darby Allin, I think he's one of the guys that he decides what he's going to do in a wrestling match because I think last night that move where Starks and Cage put him in a body bag and they put thumbtacks in there and the way he landed on his head on the stage and they were checking up on him. I think guys like that you're taking too much bumps just to please who? Because there's not a lot of fans in there. So you're doing it overboard. I can't say that the Casino Royale was bad because there was a couple of other things that happened in there. But I'm gonna let you go ahead and continue about one particular thing that happened there that I was like, why did this?
Right, so we had Group 4 and they brought the arrival of Sean Spears, Eddie Kingston, The Butcher, Sonny Kiss, and Lance Archer. Best friends were eliminated by Santana and Ortiz. Sonny Kiss eliminated Hager. One thing about Hager, he was sweating so much last night. It was unbelievable.
But they were talking about. I was reading the dirt sheet, and I think the commentators were saying it was very humid in Daily Plays last night, and that's one of the reasons these guys were sweating off. The part that Sonny Kiss. Again, we're gonna go back to what we were talking about the Joey Janela match. The part that Sonny Kiss threw Hager out. Again, it's probably they're gonna do Sonny Kiss and Joey Janela do a program with the Inner Circle. I don't know who are going to be the challengers. It's going to be Jericho and Hager, but we don't know. But watching Sonny Kiss get rid of Jake Hager, that's right there. That's a storyline. I think that's what it's going to take it to where Joey Janela and Kiss is probably going to wrestle Hager and Jericho.
Yeah, I think without a doubt. Well, Sonny Kiss was eliminated by Archer. Spears still refused to get into the ring. And the Murder Hawk monster dumped Ortiz as Matt Sydal arrived as the joke of the match. And it was great to see Matt Sydal, the former Evan Bourne. Well, it's not his fault. But as he came in, he went for the shooting star and slipped off the. It was a hell of a botch, but he's very lucky it wasn't a serious injury,
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. They were saying that the ropes were sweaty. I never heard of that, but the ropes were sweaty. It was so humid in that spot. But then, here's my thing. I understand you're trying to make an impact, and you're Matt Sydal. You're a great wrestler. But why are you trying to do a shooting star in a battle royal? And when I saw him take that bump, I was like, oh my God, he got hurt. Yeah. It was great to see him, and I'm glad that he's not with AEW. You know what I'm saying? But I was like, my goodness. And then the internet went crazy talking about, he doesn't know how to do a shooting star. I'm like, it's an accident. It happens. Like, a lot of wrestlers do stuff and they botch and they slip off the ropes. So
Yeah, without a doubt, yeah.
Yeah, and I was like, but again, situations like that in a battle royal, and I understand that you're trying to impress people, but I don't think he needed to do that, and he almost got hurt.
Yeah, and I think there's a couple of moments, like I said, with just think about when he's coming out and the emotion and everything like this. Yes, it was a mistake, but I feel with because we had Darby Allin eliminating Ricky Starks, and then obviously we had, like I said, the moment with the thumbtacks. And I always remember Mick Foley saying this of like the ones that hurt the most are the ones that don't look as good. And you know that bump that Allin took.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. Like I know AEW has a lot of they leave the wrestlers have free creativity, and that's why I say I think Darby Allin is the one that's coming up with all these crazy ideas. Like you see what he did to Ricky Starks a couple of weeks ago, where he ripped his back apart with a bunch of thumbtacks on the bottom of the skateboard. This thing that he did last night, I believe it was his call to do that, and the guy is a daredevil. He doesn't care. I mean, he had I think it was a Chris Van Fleet interview. He said it. He likes that daring stuff. I mean, a couple of months ago he was doing videos where he was doing the coffin drop from like high places, landing sponge thing. Like the guy's a nut. So, if he keeps doing it, and I don't think he even said it. He's not planning to stay in wrestling for too long anyway. So,
well, we'll see what happens. But like I said, if he wants to have longevity, then he might have to change his style. But that always comes a little bit with age as well, doesn't it? I feel with some wrestlers, when we look at someone like AJ Styles, what he was doing early on in his career to what he's doing now is a little, like I said, night and day. Anyway, Sydal dropped Cage, eliminated Spears with a double stomp on the ring apron. Hobbs obliterated Sydal with a spine bust before coming face to face with Archer, who drops him with a pounce. The big men squared off. Next as Archer and Cage exchanged blows. Cage sparred with Hobbs on the ring apron, allowing Archer to deliver a drop to the floor. Sydal eliminated the Butcher and Kingston eliminated him. Butcher and Blade tried to interfere, but Archer tossed Kingston to the floor with a win, whilst Jake the Snake was kind of tapping him with the snake in the bag. It was kind of, I don't know, it seemed a bit weird,
I mean, but I mean, I love it though, because what I'm saying, what was Jake the Snake Roberts' psychological moves back in the days? He'll bring them snakes, and now you're not thinking about him, you're thinking about that snake. You don't want that snake on top of you. So it was pretty good, because they kept saying it, and it's Eddie Kingston is afraid of snakes, so Jay's gonna tap you with that snake. It's gonna make you lose focus. But I didn't see Eddie Kingston winning it. I thought Eddie Kingston was probably gonna do some sneaky stuff and turn on one of these guys, whatever. But Lance Archer is the perfect guy who won that Casino Royale, for the simple fact the guy's been sitting around for months, ever since he lost to Cody, and that was back in April, like the ending of April. So when he lost to Cody at TNT for the TNT title, I think was it Double or Nothing? I think it was in May. Okay, May.
Yeah.
But he's been sitting around doing nothing. He had a one match with Joey Janela, which it was I think Fyter Fest, but he's been sitting around doing nothing, and I think he's a legit contender. I mean, and it's perfect, because now you're going to have him wrestle the champion, and they have a history, and they've wrestled in Wrestle Kingdom this year. So, but I like Lance Archer. I'm a big fan of Lance Archer.
Yeah, I think they missed a trick with Brian Cage to try and, like I said, capitalize on the momentum. But I think with Archer, it was the right pick in the end. Like I said, prediction-wise, you went Archer. I went for Cage. So you went 3-2 up there. And on the poll, Darby Allin got 24%. Brian Cage got 19%. Other people got 19%. But Archer was the winner there with 38%. A match overall, I'm going to give it a 3.25 out of 5, because it wasn't the best battle royal ever. It had its moments, but I don't think there was enough to really have a lasting effect, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I think this battle royal was okay. I mean, it's nothing to. I mean, if you compare it to, I remember one of the best battle royals I know from, but this was before AEW started. That was the All Out or All In, and that was a good battle royal. Last year's battle royal was okay. This was, I mean, it wasn't that bad. It just, I felt like I said, there was the Matt Seidel trying to do a 450 splash in the middle of a battle royal was a bad move. He almost hurt himself. The bump that Darby Allin took, I mean, but overall it was pretty good. I like the fact that Lance Archer won. I think he was the right guy to win this.
Yeah, I think they need to build because there is a lot of it's just something about Archer, I think, and I think they can capitalise on it. But we talk about big bumps, and we had a couple with Darby Allin in that match. Well, up next, the match between Matt Hardy and Sammy Guevara. It was fucking hell. It was difficult to watch. I will say that. Started off in your standard brawl. Of course, if Matt Hardy had lost, he would have to leave AEW. And then they went up some stairs, and as Hardy went for the suplex, kind of they overshot the table, and he knocked himself out on the concrete floor. There's no doubt about it.
That was bad, man. I'm telling you, when I saw him fly off that whatever they call that, and he hit his head on the concrete, and I saw the referee throw the X. I'm like, and you could tell you don't even have to. They didn't even have to put the camera close to him. You could tell he was not in Earth. This guy was somewhere else. And I mean, AEW is going to get a lot of heat for this, and the fact that they decided that after all this happened, I thought they were going to stop the match and that was it, and. Is AEW irresponsible for not having another match ready just in case, And I guess they claim. I read something this morning that the doctor did the protocol checkup, concussion, whatever, and he said that Matt Hardy passed it. But I'm like, how can you do a protocol checkup and then Matt Hardy passed it when Matt Hardy couldn't even get up? He was stumbling all over the place. He was still not there.
Well, this is the thing is like when it happened and I was like, oh my word. And then as he's getting checked and I thought, right, let me go to the toilet, give myself a little break. And I come back in, the match has started again. You're thinking,
yes,
why is it? What's going on? He was out. He was out.
I was watching him with my friend and he told me maybe Matt Hardy did not want the match to end that way. But that's not the wrestler's call. The wrestler is hurt, and the referee and the doctors have to make the call. Look, you're hurt. I understand you don't want the fans to be disappointed, but you're hurt. It was a bad bump, and next thing you know, then to make it worse, was he's concussed, and now they climbing this thing, this scaffold, so they could push Sammy off the scaffold so he could win.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you're taking 2 minutes. You're putting 2 minutes more into a match. It's already sabotaged because the guy got hurt. And now you're putting that same wrestler who got hurt into more danger just to win the match. I mean, his wife was pissed off on Twitter. I mean, oh my God, because I follow Rebby Hardy, and she was like on fire. And
she was, yeah. This is, like I said,
back off. It was a back off from AEW.
Yeah, well, this is the thing. Like I said, it's across all Twitter, and Tony Khan saying that he passed the test, even though he's still in hospital the day after with a concussion. And this is a problem with wrestling. And this is your argument you have as a wrestling fan, where people go, "Oh, wrestling isn't real." Well, no. What other sport? What other place would a person be knocked out cold and expect to continue the match because that's what they do? No other place, not even UFC, not boxing, not anywhere else, on the football field or anywhere like that, would a participant be knocked out and then expected to get up and actually feel, no, I have to get up because I owe these fans. And that's the crazy thing. They should have taken it out of Matt Hardy's hands and gone, right, that stops now. And we can, at the moment in time, the fans will care more about you personally than they will about a storyline,
Yeah, and to me, like I said, it's just very irresponsible on AEW part. And right there after that was everything just started going downhill. And that's like, I saw that. And I was like, how you allow a guy to, I don't care if you're the world champion and you're full of adrenaline. I mean, you're just putting yourself in danger. I don't know. AEW is going to get a lot of heat from this, and that's not good. It's not good for a company who's not even been around for a year.
Yeah, and this is a problem, and then they could have solved it quite simply. Rating for this match is non-applicable because, like I said, the match shouldn't have continued. Prediction-wise, we both picked Matt Hardy, so it went 4-3 there, and Matt Hardy on the poll got 75%, but it left a sour taste in the mouth of, I think, everybody watching that pay-per-view at that point in time, you know?
Yeah, and because now it's like it was the first thing. It was the first thing these trolls online is gonna say. Oh, well, WWE doesn't do that, and this, to get negative feedback, and then to top it off, real pro wrestling fans like us is gonna be like, yeah, that's not a cool move, man.
Yeah.
You're not looking out for the best interest of your guys. You have to, because that oh my god, I still see it in my head, hitting his head on that concrete. That was not good at all.
I mean, it was just bad, and then the problem for that then was not only everything that goes with the treatment of Matt Hardy, but how the card kind of had to continue. And then you had arguably one of the hottest matches, one of the matches that I was most looking forward to, the AEW Women's Championship match, Hikaru Shida versus Thunder Rosa, who's the NWA Women's Champion, and it was just the crowd was so flat after that point that I didn't think it mattered what these two women did. It wouldn't have got reaction. And I think these two women killed it. And Thunder Rosa, I think, stepped up and said, right, let me show you what I can do. And I think these two women put on a hell of a performance, you know?
Yeah. I mean, I really didn't pay attention to the crowd because, simple fact, I gotten so used to not even bothering these crowds or not. I just like watching the match because, Thunder Rosa, me personally, I would have, now tell me if this is not a good idea. I felt you want to make the NWA Women's Champion look good and you want to make the AEW World Champion look good, wrestle and have a person like Nyla Rose, come in and interfere in the match after a great match. And, it's a no contest. None of the champions get hurt as far as, uh, being a good champion. You know what I'm saying? But having Hiroki Shida beat Thunder Rosa, who's the NWA World Champion, it's not really good for NWA. So it's like saying AEW, is better than NWA. I mean, I'm not saying that they are. That's the way they're thinking, but that's just my thought because I also read that I thought it was going to be like a working relationship between NWA and AEW. Well, according to some dirt sheet, it said that's not just a once in a lifetime thing for now.
Yeah.
But the only way I could see it, maybe they could do an NWA angle, or maybe like come in and try to invade AEW and have that's your woman's champion. You know what I'm saying? But I think they should have just, to my opinion, and I said this in my podcast that I did this morning, was I think I would have been better off have like Nyla Rose interfere in the match after a great match, because that match was like at least 20, 25 minutes long. And it was good. It showed both women's skills and both women's ability to take punishment. But Thunder Rosa is legit. That is legit.
Yeah, I'll completely agree. I think both women are fantastic. I think that it just felt like a WWE style move when you've got and it felt predictable when you've got the NWA champion, a company coming from the outside. You should surprise everybody and have Rosa maybe get the victory, and then you're going, well, hang on a minute here. It doesn't make the AEW look weak. Actually, makes them look better because they're helping another company out, plus building the women's division as well. You can have your rematch on Dynamite in a couple of weeks and have Shida getting the title back, and I think it breeds a bit of excitement. When it happened the way it did, you just thought, oh, this was okay. Do you know what I mean? Don't get me wrong. It was a hell of a match between the two, and Rosa did kick out of the Falcon Arrow, stunning Shida, and then she applied the stretch muffler, but Rosa reached the break, and Shida continued to fight and put Rosa away with a running knee to earn the victory. I think, like I said, both women turned it up in this one. I thought it's great, but even though the result prediction-wise, because I obviously went Shida compared to your Rosa, I wouldn't have minded if Rosa win because it made it more exciting. I feel,
Yeah, I picked Rosa. I mean, I didn't want to be like, oh, I'm picking Sheeta because I'm looking at a bigger picture, So, like I said, that's my theory. I say, okay, I know Nyla Rose supposedly in the AEW ranking they have her as the number one contender because she hasn't gotten a return match. So I figure, what a better way to push Nyla Rose as this big heel. She already has that label. than to interfere on a great wrestling match between two champions. But they didn't do it that way. So when Sheeta pinned Thunder Rosa, it was like a disappointment for me. You know? So it was like, but overall, the match was great. Maybe, yeah, if you would have had the fans, because the place was so hot, maybe people were worn out. But, you know, I mean, we'll see what happens. Hopefully, they'll have some NWA wrestlers and maybe an angle or invasion something. It'll be cool.
Yeah, let's hope they can, because I think that would be really, really good stuff. And then up next, a match that I felt could have been on AEW. We had Matt Cardona, Scorpio Sky, and of course the Natural Nightmares going against the Dark Order. I thought it was weirdly positioned in the show, and I think when you're looking at it and you're going, your show's 2.5 hours or 2 hours at this point, maybe cut it. Did they just have the match because of Cardona's AEW pay-per-view debut, and also what I felt is that it's set up for Dynamite, and it said to them, well, pay-per-view's all right, but Dynamite's more important because Dustin Rhodes versus Brody Lee match coming up.
I think I didn't see that one coming. But it looked like that's exactly what they did. They put at first I figured, well, you know what? They're having this 8-man tag. They're pushing Matt Cardona, even though Matt Cardona doesn't have a contract with AEW, not yet. So I figured, well, they're gonna push it because Matt Cardona is the next guy up against Brody Lee, and that's why I picked them to win by disqualification against Dark Order. But as it turned out, that's not what they're doing. They're pushing Dustin Rhodes against Brody Lee. The match, I mean, Matt Cardona did not show me anything that I haven't seen in WWE. He looks like he hasn't improved anything. He's just the same Matt Cardona that you see. The surprising part was that it looks like Cole Cabana is out his way out of Dark Order. I mean, when he first joined, I thought he was out of place. He didn't belong there. But then again, I understand the concept of the Dark Order. You lose a lot of matches, will help you win. But I think that whole match, the guys that I really impressed me in there is Stu Grayson. That guy is awesome. That guy, every time I see him, his skill sets is just getting better and better. And of course, Brody Lee showing his powerful moves and all that stuff. I mean, the guy he's a good super kick you before you even get off the ropes. Like he's awesome. Well, but everything was. I thought they probably wanted the whole match was to build Matt Cardona, but apparently that wasn't the case. It was more to build a match between Dustin Rhodes and Brody Lee.
Yeah, that's what it seems like. And the thing with Colt Cabana is maybe have him make a face turn against the Dark Order, to him being kicked out that way. It might be interested to see. I just felt this was a little bit it was just unneeded for me, and I feel, especially towards the end, when you saw what was going on, you thought, oh, this is going to go a certain way, because Rhodes got their kind of hot tag. He survived the lariat from Lee, dodged the moonsault for Cabana and rolled him up. And of course, you see them celebrating. Again, didn't really build excitement for me. Just going back to the women's match, because I didn't do a rating for it, I'm going to give the women's match a 4 out of 5 because I thought that was a really good match.
Yeah.
The poll was 56% Shida over Rosa. With this one, I'm going to be nice to it and give it a 3 out of 5 for the 8-man tag, even though I'm not sure if that really deserves it,
Yeah, I would have gave it 2.5, because if you think about it, this is just me. I see Scorpio Sky didn't gain anything out of this. Matt Cardona just, he do his first pay-per-view and AEW. Didn't impress me at all. QT Marshall, he's just another lost. He's lost in the shuffle. He's just a jobber. And the one who came out of winning out of all this was Dustin Rhodes. And because, and also you have to think, you have to have one of the Rhodes win, because Cody's not there. And Cody's doing movies or whatever he's doing. So why not give, a joyous momentum for Dustin Rhodes? You see at the end, everybody picked up Dustin Rhodes, as their leader. So, but we'll see. I mean, it's going to be an interesting match between him and Brody Lee, but Brody Lee's going to kill him.
I think that's fair.
He's going to beat him up.
I think that's fair. And on the poll wise, it was 77% even for Dark Order. over Cardona. But you did say Cardona and Co would win. So at that point in time, you went 5-4 up in predictions. Now, during this time, I'm watching it and I'm thinking, right, it's going on a little bit now. We're a couple hours in. But was this pay-per-view all about the 3-match show? Because everything we've seen beforehand, apart from maybe the women's match, had led to this moment. Because the next 3 matches were probably the most important overall on the pay-per-view, weren't they? You know?
Yeah, I mean, by then now you have 2 hours in, and right now, and you know, fresh in my head is that Matt Hardy situation, the Matt Sydal accident. So I'm like, okay, so I'm hoping the FTR and Omega match and Omega and Page match is going to be exciting. It's going to be something crazy is going to happen. So you know, at that time, I'm waiting like, okay, I'm still waiting for that. Oh my God, get out of here! Oh my God, can't wait for. I was still waiting for that, but you know, at that time, I was like, why does this look like this pay-per-view is going downhill?
Yeah, without a doubt. This is what I was worried about. But then we had, like I said, the AEW tag team titles on the line. Kenny Omega and Adam Page versus FTR. Now, I mean, maybe I'm a snob because, like I said, been watching wrestling for so many years and so many decades. You expect certain things from certain matches. And I thought this one would be a 5-star classic of a tag team match. And maybe if I didn't have my hopes so high, I wouldn't have been disappointed with it. Because don't get me wrong, I think it was great action, but I think not every match has to be 30 minutes either. You know, and I think that hurt the match a little bit.
And I had a feeling you was going to say this. And what I said in my podcast was a lot of people are so conditioned to watch a tag team match and last 10, maybe 5, 6, 10 minutes, right? And they're not used to that slow, methodical, old school tag team. And that's exactly what I saw last night. It was an old school, old school tactic, tagging in and out. And if you notice, they were working on Hangman Page for most of the match. It wasn't until Omega came in, and then Omega, I think he injured his leg, and they were working on his leg. But if you look at FTR reminds me a lot of Tully Blanchard and Arn Anderson. They work on one body part, and that's the lost art in tag team wrestling. You don't see that no more. A lot of the guys, you get the high flying stuff, flippity stuff all over the place. There's not a team like FTR right now where they're showing is methodical. They work on one body part. They tell a story, and that's why I guess the match was long. I'm not gonna lie, it was long.
It was long.
it was long to what I'm used to watching, man. But I enjoy it because it brings back those memories of me watching tag team wrestling back in the 80s and 90s when a guy works on one body part and tells a story in that, and I mean, overall, the ending and the way it ended was beautiful. I mean, it's perfect because it's continued the storyline that started back in July when FTR first came in, and it also clicks to what's going on with the Young Bucks. So it was long. It was very long. But I like it. I give it, to me, I'll give it a 4. That match.
Right. Before we get on that, let's talk about, because there's a couple of things now I want to pick up on. I completely agree with the revival as they were in WWE. They were our tag team for 3 years running because of the old school style that they do, cutting off a ring and making it work like that. I also like them as well because when I was hearing a couple of interviews and they were going up to the face tag teams and saying, right, what's your big spots? What's the ones you want us to sell for? And the teams are looking at them going, what, you haven't got any moves that you want to do? And they're saying, we're a heel tag team. Our job is to make the face teams look good and to bounce off you. And if that means to take the moves, then we will. And it's that sort of a psychology in ring that makes him such a great tag team. And like I said, we had the story of the match, but I think my problem is because I'm expecting the best tag team match ever. I think that's where you kind of hopes get caught up with it. As a storyline, they said it's storyline with Omega getting his leg worked on and the champions fighting back and looking to put the challenge his way. Wheeler evaded the buckshot lariat and Omega inadvertently blasted Page for the V trigger. A spark pile driver failed to put Page away, but a second earned FTR the tag titles. Again, nice finish because of what we saw leading up to it. And after the match, Omega walked out on Page, stomping out the arena, followed by the Young Bucks, who implored the former champion to talk about things to get in the car and driving off. Like I said, that's a year's worth of storyline still working there. Should they have left it with Omega and Page? Should they have split up sooner, or do you think this is the right timing for it?
Well, I mean, the way I saw it last night, it's perfect because I don't know if you follow BTE, but they've been teasing of Kenny Omega, the cleaner, the way he used to be back in Japan. So this is perfect because if I don't know if you caught it, but when he was leaving, he pretty much told the Young Bucks, we got to go back to the way it was. Said the cleaning days, and it leaves the Young Bucks, which the part that I don't understand why the Young Bucks are giving an ultimatum when they just threw out Hangman out of the Elite a couple of weeks ago. But it's perfect because now the heel turn for the original members of the Elite are going to get back together. It's just a matter of time. Something's, I still see Hangman probably being part of the Four Horsemen that's going to come very soon. Because if you saw the jacket on Tully Blanchard, it says "Fear the Revelation," and Revelation in the Bible they talk about the Four Horsemen. So, so I could see that happening. But I like the way it ended, and the fact that Omega walked away from him, left him on the ring, because now you want to see what's going to happen Wednesday. You know what I'm saying? So it's like the fallback of that.
But
so,
I think so. I think the problem is though with AEW and the pay-per-view is, and I'll see it back in the day with WCW, where the pay-per-view needs to be the payoff as opposed to, yes, it's good to find out what's happening next, but a pay-per-view shouldn't be there to build the next Dynamite. It should be there to kind of finish storylines. This is a kind of overarching theme, and we'll see it through Dynamite leading to the next AEW pay-per-view, because they announced it was going to be November 7th, which is pretty soon, isn't it? Compared to what we've had before.
Well, I think they give it like 2 months. I think they worked between 2 months, 3 months. But now that you're talking about the pay-per-view or the payoff, and it's true because in my head, I was thinking this is like a storyline that happened back in 1988 when the Clash of the Champions 2, Barry Windham and Legacy champions, and Tully and Arn were the challengers, and Barry Windham turned on Luger and they made the Horsemen the champions. So I was thinking in those lines. I said maybe they're going to use something like that. Maybe Omega's going to turn on Hangman. The fact that I remember watching in the beginning of before the show started, they did a promo with the Young Bucks, and they said something about you're going to pay for it. I thought the Young Bucks were going to interfere, cost Omega and Page the titles. So I was looking for a real heel turn in this match, but it never happened.
But like I said, there is still hope to go on. Poll-wise, out of all the polls, FTR, they got 88%. It was the biggest landslide overall that we had. Prediction-wise, we both got a point for that. So it went 6-5 into the co-main event, which was the match, Orange Cassidy and Chris Jericho. Now, this feud for me has been a breath of fresh air because there's a lot of people throughout time that says funny doesn't equal money, and I've always said Orange Cassidy is a different kettle of fish to most of that because I think he's got a serious side, and I feel Chris Jericho saw that and was like, let me make this guy. And I think, when you look at the match quality of their feud, maybe not at the level that we want, but I think with the payoff that we got, I think it was just deserved,
I mean, you probably gonna look at me like I'm crazy, but I think this match, I guess because the first 2 matches they had, I wasn't too crazy about it. But then when they added the stipulation with the mimosa, I found that it was long and boring. I don't know why, but it just like it looked like Jericho was slow on a lot of his moves, and it's like the timing was a little bit off. But it just didn't grasp my attention. I was like, I've seen these matches 2 times already. The first time, it was pretty good. The second time, I was like, okay, so now I got you. But when they added the stipulation, the mimosa stuff, I'm like, okay, this doesn't make sense to me. Like, I didn't like it. I found it too long, boring.
I think they put it in place because maybe they didn't want Jericho to lose either pinfall or submission. So to have it like that, then you can say, right, Cassidy wins the feud and you can move on. I don't think Jericho gets hurt from this. And I think with Cassidy as well, There's something about him that I just like, and I'm behind him in matches. And I think for a wrestler to have that, I think is very, very important. Yes, we've kind of seen the feeling of, he's going to tip and he's going to tip not. But I think it delivered in my eyes for what I wanted to see to end it, and Orange Cassidy actually getting a victory. And we talk about, and you mentioned it right at the start, about building new stars. This is probably the one match you look at and go, right, they're looking at Cassidy now and they're going, right, there's a guy who's going to be a future star.
Yeah. I mean, Jericho, and I said this in my podcast also, Jericho creates stars, you know what I'm saying? But I think Orange Cassidy became a star when he had his match with Pac at Revolution, because nobody expected him to do any of those moves against Pac back in February, So I guess because I seen them wrestle 3 times already, maybe they didn't catch my eye. And yeah, you're right, because Jericho didn't get pinned. He didn't submit. He just fell in a pool of mimosa. So yeah, I mean, we'll see what happens but I think now Jericho moves on now, maybe to feud with Joey Janela and Sonny Kiss and him and Hager, and then Orange Cassidy. I don't know what is going to be his next move, but who knows? He'll probably feud with MJF.
I think that would be something that we'll see with 2 young guys, trying to get it across. And I do feel with Orange Cassidy that as long as they can continue giving him meaning and a goal, I think their character can work. Like I said, the worst thing to do after a feud is to have nothing for him and not really sure how to build on it. They need to build now the momentum that they made after the Mimosa match last night,
Yeah, it's true, yeah. So we'll see, because now, okay, there's a lot of, like I said, as this pay-per-view is going, and outside the Mimosa match, I was like, oh my God, this is a slow dying death, And I was like, I hope the world title match is better than this. And I think that was up next.
Yes, that was our main event. And before I say that, I did feel a bit like that during the tag team match of thinking this kind of needs to hurry up a little bit, because at that point in time, you're looking at kind of 4:30 in the morning. You're thinking, oh, this is not that great. Poll-wise for that one, Orange Cassidy versus Chris Jericho, 60% to 40% Chris Jericho. And I picked OC there, so we went 6-6. So we were level with our main event, which is the AEW World Championship, Jon Moxley versus MJF. I thought this was a big styles clash, but I felt that they did as well as they could have done. And as I'm watching the match and it's going along, and of course Moxley hurt his arm, you're thinking, is that going to come back to play? We've seen it before, MJF bleeding as well. But I thought Wardlow would play a presence, and he did in the end. What did you think of the match up until the ending shenanigans?
I think MJ was playing it very smart, because even the commentators were saying he didn't want to wrestle Moxley outside, because he knew you wrestle Moxley outside, that's where Moxley thrives the most. You know what I'm saying? With chairs and all kinds of stuff. Well, he was playing it smart, and the fact that he was working on a body part, again, I'm going to bring that up. He worked on the body part all night through that match, and with the arm. Moxley, of course, you got to give him credit. He takes a beating, but he gives it right back. I mean, MJF, let me tell you something. MJF in this match came out big time, like a star, because it shows that, he's a heel, and, he may do little sneaky stuff, whatever, but it shows you that he could take a beating, and last night he leveled up as a star. Yeah. So, the fact that Warlow got involved after the match, that's going to play out for another storyline that I'm looking forward to.
Yeah, I think JR he didn't ruin the ending for me, but during the match, and he's going, well, MJF has proven how tough he is right now. And it's like, okay, so they're doing that then. They're going to show that MJF is a tough guy who can handle being in the ring with Moxley, but it's not quite his time, now. But I think Moxley is Moxley. I think what you see is what you get. And I think the kind of brawling style and everything like that is fun. But it just, I want to see maybe a little bit more from him once, he eventually drops the title, see kind of where he goes. As for MJF, very, very impressed with him. The style he wrestles is not the most exciting, but I think that helps a heel, especially with the crowd, when he's trying to go for the arm bars or anything like this. You don't want to see a heel going for an exciting thing, And with the paradigm shift being, not being able to be used, and then we see Wardlow thrown in the ring, causing a distraction. and Mox hitting it and getting the pinfall victory. I think MJF is, like I said, a future world champion. There's no doubt about that. But for Moxley, I think it's going to be interesting because, as we saw at the end, him looking at Archer, we've got our next built feud. But is that the end for Moxley, or do you feel like Moxley has still got a lot more as world champion?
Well, see, that's the hard part to talk about, because I know Archer and Moxley met at Wrestle Kingdom when Archer was the United States IWGP champion, and they had a crazy match. I think it was the street fight, I think it was, but Moxley beat him. But if Archer beats him, I'll be very surprised, because that means that you're going to put the belt on a guy like Archer. Who's going to beat Archer? You know, I mean, that then you're making him, you're putting another champion, more powerful champion, who's going to beat him. I thought last night Moxley was going to lose the belt. I mean, I was predicting this for weeks in my podcast that Moxley was going to lose the belt to MJF, because, you know, MJF was playing it off like he was hurt, blah, 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 the paradigm shift thing. But don't be surprised if they vacate the belt, because, you know, remember, the paradigm shift was not allowed in this match. And, you know, MJ, they could pull off the thing with the lawyer stuff or whatever. But if they don't go that route, I think Moxley's going to keep that belt out to the end of the year. I don't see Lance Archer winning the world title, because it doesn't make any sense. Because if you think Lance Archer is world champion, that he should have won the TNT belt the first time.
Yeah, and I think with AEW as well, with the amount of monsters that they've got with Brody Lee and Brian Cage, you have to be careful about how dominant they are with that. But I'll tell you a funny thing, last night, as soon as he hit the referee counted, I'm saying to myself, just end the pay-per-view. Just end the pay-per-view. Just don't have someone come out and go, no, you used the finishing move. You know, I'll go, just end it. Just end it.
Yeah, so... I can imagine, man. I feel bad because, you know, with time difference, you know, and I'm home, like it was the pay-per-view ended around 11:40 something at night, and then I remember you announced that you won the thing, and I was like, and I started counting. I was like, oh my God, he's up late, you know.
Honestly, I'm like, he's
not gonna sleep tonight.
5 o'clock in the morning, it finally finished. Wow. And it was, like I say, though, overall, the match itself, I think, was pretty solid between Moxley and MJF. I'm going to give it a 3 3/4 out of 5, because there's not a lot else that these two guys could have done to improve it, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, they both gave it. They all Moxley, of course, you know, he always brings it. MJF, like I said, MJF became the star last night, a bigger star. But you know, it'll be fun to see what happens now. Where he's gonna go? Are they gonna continue with this storyline where now he'll use the lawyer and be like, let's go to videotape, and the belt becomes vacant or held up? But it's interesting. But you know, overall, the pay-per-view, I think it wasn't the best. It's not one of the I'm shocked, because most of the pay-per-views are on point. I never, since their existence, they haven't had a bad pay-per-view. And this last night, with all that stuff that happened, yeah, it wasn't the greatest.
You have to agree with it, right? So we will say that on the poll, Moxley did have, I think, 56% in the end. So it's pretty close between him and MJF. It did mean that I won the prediction 7-6, but I wasn't leading the entire night until the last one. So what a battle! Just showed that it was two guys who knew their shit, and it could have gone either way, really, in the end. Like I said, as overall, so what I'm going to do a match of the night, person of the night, and a rating out of 10. And first up, my match of the night will be the women's championship, Shida versus Rosa, because I think both women really delivered in especially a difficult spot of the card. What was your match of the night?
Match of the night for me was the FTR versus Omega and Page, but because I was looking forward to it. I mean, it ended the way it was supposed to end. I expected more after the match, but you know, we'll wait to see. I mean, that was my match of the night.
Without doubt. Person of the night, I've got to say it's Orange Cassidy. I know you probably won't be happy with that, but I think with a performance like with victory over someone like Chris Jericho, name value, I think he is. When you look at overall who was a star here tonight, I think Cassidy has got to be my person of the night.
Mine's MJF. I think MJF, like I said, his star grew. I mean, for a guy who colored himself last night, and he did what he could. I mean, even though he was sometimes paraded around, gloating, but the guy's the future star of AEW.
Yeah, I think without a doubt. And out of 10, now I am going to give it an 8 out of 10. Like I said, AEW pay-per-views normally deliver, but I feel that it was just missing something last night. I think AEW went a bit too at some points where they overloaded the pay-per-view. It went 4-hour mark. Yes, there maybe weren't that many pieces in time where you were kind of bored, but I think some of the matches just didn't need to be either. And I think that was a problem with it, When you look at the crowd, they were a little bit quiet. Injuries hurt the pace and feel of the match. But again, 8 out of 10 because the main match is delivered. And I think if you look at it as, you pay for your admission to see the tag team match, the Mimosa match, and the world title, I think it delivered on that case. So that's why I'm an 8 out of 10.
I give it a 7 out of 10. I think they need and the reason I say 7 out of 10 because this stuff that these wrestlers do, these high spots, dangerous spots to get over, it needs to slow down because like I said, the Darby Allin taking that bump, the Matt Hardy that nearly killed himself was that was scary. I mean, as far as the fan is concerned, I'm like I said, I really don't pay attention to the fan because like I am so used to watching all these wrestling shows when there's no fans. But the main matches did deliver as far like FTR match, the Moxley, the Mimosa match. I wasn't too crazy about it, but the Thunder Rosa and Hiroki was one of my favorites, and I think if they keep doing their stuff like this with the AEW Women's Division, they're gonna go places.
Yeah, I think that. I think if they put it in the co-main event slot and had it in between the Cassidy and the world title match, it might have given it a little bit more importance as well. But that's something that they can definitely work on. So I think that is it for AEW overall. Is there anything else about All Out you'd like to mention? Or I think that's it now, isn't it?
Yeah, that's about it. I mean, just all we got to do is just wait till what happens on Wednesday. I don't know when you see it over there. On Wednesday night to see what happens. I mean, it's the fallout of All Out is gonna, it's gonna be interesting because now we're gonna see what's the new storylines, what's gonna happen with the Hangman Page situation, and and again, I'm still waiting around for the Four Horsemen to rise, the new era of Four Horsemen. So that's like, I can't wait for that.
No, well, it's been brilliant to have you on the show. It's really, really good talking to someone who's very knowledgeable and obviously knows what they're talking about. I hope you've enjoyed yourself as well.
Oh man, listen, we got to do this again, definitely.
Well,
we definitely do it on the next pay-per-view.
Yeah, like I said, you got the AEW pay-per-view coming up in November as well. And we'll keep in contact. And like I said, it's been really great. That is it on the podcast. Don't forget, we're across all social media, Twitter at the WNR Podcast. And the WNR follower of the week is Alexi Bolden at Alexi_27. Do you want to plug your Twitter quickly?
Yeah, I got the Chokeslam Wrestling Report available on Apple, Spotify, Pandora. Also, I got a YouTube channel, same name. You guys can go check it out. I just put a video. Yesterday is NXT moving to Tuesday. The AEW won the Wednesday War, so you guys could go and check it out and enjoy yourself.
Yeah, without a doubt, I've checked it out, and it is great content. You wouldn't be on the WNR if it wasn't. And don't forget, the WNR are on Facebook and on Instagram as well. The WNR Podcast across all Google platforms. Send us an email to WNRpodcast@gmail.com. WNR Podcast also on SoundCloud, on your phone, Stitcher, and iTunes, where you can download, subscribe, rate, and review there. And our next episode is going to be Francis Wright at Francis Wright PW. We cannot wait. So that is it. And today, like I said, I have been joined by very special guests. Like I say, I really appreciate you taking the time out, especially in America and all that. And hope to do it again soon as well. Yeah.
Yes, we got to definitely do it again. I'll cross the pond again.
No problems. All right. Thanks for listening, everybody, and bye.